I am calling the meeting to order at 6 p.m. Trustee Lopez White is absent. And if we may rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Approval of agenda order. The board reserves the right to change the order in which agenda items are discussed and/or acted upon this meeting. Subject to further action by the board, the agenda for this meeting is to be approved as presented. Items may be added to this agenda for discussion or action only as permitted by the Brown Act. May I get a motion? Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by trustee Garrison and a second by trustee Candelaria-Orr to approve the agenda order. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And trustee Lopez White is absent. Public comment on non-agenda items. The public may address the board on non-agenda items pursuant to the Brown Act. During this period, the board cannot consider issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda. Time is limited to 3 minutes per person per item, 20 minutes per topic. If you have a comment on non-agenda public comment on non-agenda items, if you may stand and make a line behind the podium. And Leslie, are you wanting us to do the 3 minutes and then you interpret, or do you want to do simultaneous interpretation?
I can do it simultaneously if I can stand up to the side.
We'll need you to do it through the mic.
I can translate right after, if that's okay with
Okay.
you guys.
Okay, so we'll do the 3
So,
minutes.
yeah, 3 minutes, and then you'll have 3 minutes to interpret. And if you can just state your name for the record.
¿Puedes decir tu nombre primero?
Ok. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Susana Oseguera.
My name is Susana Oseguera.
Mis hijos estudian en Washington School y en High School. Hoy vengo a pedirles que escuchen mi petición y las necesidades. Es fundamental que en la escuela tengan y hemos estado pidiendo en las juntas de DILAC, por ejemplo, los documentos como los de LCAP, que vinimos a verlos y no están en español, están nada más en inglés. Y que las escuelas ocupan más consejeros que policías. He escuchado a algunos niños que no tuvieron respuesta pronto por los consejeros. Ocupamos más personal que hable español. Mi esposo vino a la casa abierta, no supo qué hacer, no habla inglés, se perdió, no vio ni un trabajo de mi hija, la maestra no sé qué pasó, entonces, pues, él no se sintió bien recibido al salón. Yo ya sé, cuando voy a la casa abierta, yo sé qué hacer, yo busco los trabajos de mi hija, mi esposo no supo ni qué hacer. Es todo. Gracias.
Thank you. Préstamelo.
Hi, my name is Susana Oseguera. I am here, my students go to Washington and high school. I am here to ask ask for one of our fundamental necessities, which is to have more translators within the district, like we have been asking at DLAC. We also asked that all documents be translated in Spanish, like the LCAP. We searched for that one and it was not translated. Also having more translators and Spanish-speaking employees within the district to be able to feel welcome. My husband went to open house and he felt very unwelcome. He felt lost because, it was his first time going, but at the same time, there was no one there to guide him in order for him to know where to go for my daughter's work or classroom or anything like that. So we are asking for more translators as well as information in our language.
Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you.
So again, we're just going to do that.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es María Aguirre.
Hi, my name is Maria Aguirre.
Soy mamá de 4 hijos, tengo a 2 niñas en 9º grado y tengo a un niño en 2º grado en Jefferson. Mis preocupaciones son, y es más que nada como una petición a ustedes que haya más consejeros en la escuela, porque pasan ciertas situaciones y no hay quien les ayude a nuestros hijos a enfrentar qué es lo que pasa en la clase, qué es lo que pasa con 2 maestros a veces en las clases, y pues un solo consejero no es suficiente para todos los niños en la escuela.
So I am the mother of 4 students, 2 within the 9th grade and 1 at 2nd grade at Jefferson. I am here to let you know about my worries and as well as have a petition to have more counselors within the school because 1 is not sufficient enough. There has been different situations that my students have faced where they don't know what to do or how to handle dealing with a teacher, so I feel it's important to have more than just 1 counselor to the amount of children we currently have.
Y la otra cosa es intérpretes, más intérpretes para, si es una escuela que ya tiene un 60 y tanto % de latinos, creo que necesitamos personas que puedan interpretar a toda la comunidad.
So the second part is to have more interpreters. We have about 60% of our Latino community in our schools, and it is important to have more people to be able to translate for those families that come to the schools.
Gracias.
Una cosa más que veo que me queda tiempo, que dicen que van a poner un oficial. Yo preferiría mejor un psicólogo o alguien que pueda tratar a los niños o puedan hablar los niños con ellos para resolver la situación que tengan y en vez de que haya más problemas con nuestros hijos.
It is to my understanding that you guys are going to have an SRO. I feel it's more important to have more counselors for students to be able to speak to them and build a relationship than it is to have an SRO.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hola, mi nombre es Eva Ruiz. Tengo 2 hijos que ya van a estar aquí en la high school y solamente pido que haya consejeros en todas las escuelas porque nos perdemos de mucho y no sabemos ni qué. Y también me gustaría que hubiera un poco más de ayuda para los niños que son especiales porque dicen que hay y no hay mucho. Es todo.
Hi, my name is Eva Ruiz. I have 2 kids starting at the high school. I feel it's important to have more counselors within the schools so that way kids don't get lost. So parents, they don't get lost and they get that information that they need for the success of their students. I also feel it's important to
Special education.
Thank you. And it's important to have more assistance for the special education as well as the assistance that they say that they are providing, which I feel they're not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Hi, I have a couple of things. Can I hand them to
Hello.
you guys? Is that okay?
Yes.
You can-
I need one. Here, I'll just, because it's 3 different things. There's a
Oh,
letter. or
you'll
you-
hand
yeah,
it
I
to
have
Clark.
check them
You
all
have to.
out for you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Just hand it over to me. Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you, thank you.
Oh, that's good. I didn't know how many I needed.
Oh, she
Oh,
needs.
there you go, okay.
Are you gonna? It's all good.
Thank you. And I was just gonna read this, and I don't know if it'll fit in the 3 minutes. And now, and they're translating, they asked me to slow down, so, if not, Ms. Lambert was gonna finish.
It's additional time.
She'll be translating simultaneous or interpreting simultaneously, and if you're just gonna read this, she'll try to read it off this. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank
And then if
you.
I get cut off, I was gonna pass it to Danielle, was finish reading it, but it's just this one letter.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm Carly Lewis. I've been a fifth grade teacher at Washington for 6 years now, coming up on my 7th. And I'm here today in hopes that you would reconsider cutting our 4th fifth grade position. I wanted to look back on a few years ago when we only had 3 fifth grade teachers, and it was hands down the most difficult year, and I'll explain why. I personally started the year with 28 students, but ended up growing to 34 students by the end of the year. Keep in mind that this upcoming year with the current numbers, I will be starting with 29 if we stick with only 3 teachers. But let me explain that this isn't just the class size that affects the students. As you know, we do not have an intervention program at Washington, so the 5th grade team has created one. When we have 4 teachers, we have been able to move the students around to create small intervention groups based on their current needs. This last year, we had 2 reading intervention classes taught by my partner teacher and I, as well as Miss Tricia, a math intervention class taught by Lisa Fogg, and a project-based learning room for those students who did not need intervention but rather enrichment. However, the year we only had 3 teachers, we were not able to facilitate our intervention rotation because mathematically we cannot move kids around to create small enough intervention groups for this to be effective. To be effective, a reading intervention group needs to be around 10 to 14 kids. With only 3 teachers, this means that the 3rd class would have to hold around 45 kids. So looking back on the year, on that previous, or a couple years ago, when we only had 3 fifth grade teachers, we were not able to set up a systematic intervention program. Instead, we had to attempt to do so in the classroom. I was able to set up a relatively small group rotation in the classroom, but my small group still consisted of 7 to 8 kids, and while I was working with a group, the rest of the students were working independently. With such a large class, I am sure you can imagine that this was not the most successful. This also means that the high students were mostly working independently, while I struggled to get to the students who were much further behind. Another loss for students when we only have 3 fifth grade teachers is we are no longer able to rotate for science and social studies. Every other year, the 4 teachers are paired off to be able to swap students for science and social studies. In my case, this means my students go to Lisa Fogg for science, and Lisa's students come to me for social studies. The year we only had 3 teachers, we had to remain self-contained. What ended up happening was my students missed out on learning from Lisa, who has become an expert in 5th grade science curriculum and puts in the extra energy to create science experiments and other engaging activities. What my students did not miss out on was the interactive social studies units, but her students did. Though these pieces are extra, the interactive units inspire the lower kids to want to participate and gives the high kids the opportunity to expand because of the assignments are mostly open-ended. This is such a loss for students. That year, the final scores did not end. Oh, am I paused? Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's actually perfect time.
A little short. I'm Danielle Lambert.
just gonna keep
That
going
year, the
for
final scores did not end with the same growth. I have had in the past. I no longer have those scores to share with you, but I can tell you I felt defeated most of the year knowing that we could be helping these students so much more if we had 4 teachers rather than 3. This last year, we had 4 fifth grade teachers and all of our systems were in place. This allowed us to do our interventions in math and reading. It allowed us to rotate for science and social studies, which is more engaging, and our STAR scores reflect this. STAR is what we use as a benchmark. I have printed out copies of this year's STAR growth reports in both reading and math. This shows each student's starting score as well as their ending score. I also marked if a student received intervention or if they received intervention in the RSP classroom. You can see that Room 1's class average math growth is over 2 years. You can also look at individual growth and see that many students made more than a year's worth of growth in math. You can also see that the class average for STAR reading growth was a year and 3 months, with many students making more progress than that. This year's incoming fifth graders' STAR scores are incredibly low, with 53% of students reading below grade level, and of that 34% are below the 25 percentile. If we do not hire a fourth fifth grade teacher, this is another year that will move through fifth grade without receiving intervention. We will not be able to reach the kids in a way that I know we can, the way that we do. I understand that you are tasked with the financial side of things, but we are talking about 90 kids that will not receive the support that they need. Please consider finding a place to make cuts that does not directly affect student learning. Do you want me to read the STAR scores?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I was waiting for interpretation to finish reading everything off. And we have one more public comment. Okay.
Hola, buenas tardes. ¿Sí me escucho? Soy Juana Álvarez. Yo estoy aquí para pedir una mejora en brindar apoyo a aquellos estudiantes que lo necesitan antes de que reaccione negativamente.
Hi, my name is Juana Alvarez. I'm here to ask for support to those students that are struggling in order to have a better response instead of waiting until they have a negative response.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you for public comment. Next item, report discussion. E1 2024-2025 local performance indicators self-reflection.
Yes. Yes, so you'll see on the cover sheet for E1, like I said, that list there. So basically, we have these local performance indicators, which is basically just the district doing the local performance indicator. And of course, we have to be in front of the board to be able to look at that. And then again, this is part of the LCAP, but this isn't a part of the LCAP that we submit it, but nobody else is grading us, basically. We're kind of doing a self-check, is essentially what it is. So it's, as you see, it's not in the action items because it's just a matter of getting it in front of you guys. So I guess it would be any questions that might come up for that.
Any questions?
I would just say that, as you can see, there's a lot of things on the beginning stages, which we're going to hopefully increase as things go by. But I would say some school districts, since it's internal, they kind of inflate it a little bit. We wanted to be very transparent and very honest with where we are on certain things. Yeah.
Any questions? If you have public comment on E1, if you can please stand next to the podium.
Can I make one more comment? So it does talk in here about youth truth surveys. We did get the data, and so that's going to be on July's agenda too. That will be on there. So we were able to finally get all of the comprehensive data for the whole district rather than by, they originally had it by school, and now we've got the entire district stuff. So that'll be coming in July.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay. I will move on to discussion action. F1, consideration and possible approval of the 24-27 local control accountability plan and plan attachments.
And this is the same as we had yesterday, so this, as you know, we can't approve the LCAP and the budget in the same meeting as we had the public hearing.
Are there any questions? If you have any public comment on F1, you may stand next to the podium. I'm not seeing any. Okay. May I get a motion for F1?
I move to approve F1.
I'll second. I just want to, no, I guess we're in discussion since we have a motion and a second, reiterate that it's a living document. It can be changed.
Exactly.
It's not permanent, so.
It's written in a way that obviously changes, moving of funds, things like that can be amended, so it's not obviously written in stone, or at least so specific that we can't obviously change things around.
And there will be an update every year too, because this is just the first one of the 3-year cycle, essentially, so it will be brought back.
And there was a lot of staff, trustees, superintendent, DLAC, a lot of these ladies in the audience attended the LCAP and were able to give their input. So it was very collaborative, and I appreciate everyone's ability to work together.
Yep.
Okay. So I have a motion by trustee Garrison for F1, approval of the 2024-25 or 27 local control accountability plan and plan attachments, and a second by trustee Candelaria Orr. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And trustee Lopez White is absent. Moving on to F2, consideration and possible approval of the 24-25 proposed budget, including reasons for assigned and unassigned ending fund balances in excess of minimum recommended reserves.
One thing I will say too, we forgot to mention last night, is they're going forward after this year, they're amending the notice and the public inspection period just to be able, because before we had to put it in the paper and everything like that too. Now it's just going to be available on your website. So that will actually save a few dollars because it's pretty expensive to do the advertising and stuff too. So they are changing that up. We forgot to mention that yesterday.
Do we have any other questions? Or did anybody think of another question that we didn't discuss yesterday?
I think we were pretty in-depth yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm not particularly happy with where we're at, but it's where we're at.
If there's any public comment on this item, if you may just stand next to the podium. Okay. With that, may I get a motion?
I move to approve the 24-25 budget as presented.
So I have a motion by trustee Garrison to approve the 24-25 proposed budget, including reasons for assigned and unassigned ending fund balances in excess of minimum recommended reserves, and a second by trustee Candelaria Orr. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And trustee Lopez White is absent. Okay. Future agenda items, field use agreement. Does anybody have any other agenda items?
We were going to add athletics.
Oh, yes, athletic budgets.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay. Future board meetings is July 17th, 2024, regular board meeting at 6 PM.
Move to adjourn.
With that, I have a motion by trustee Addison to adjourn at
I will
6:25.
second. I'm slow today.
A second by trustee Candelaria Orr. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And trustee